Hey everybody, welcome back. Another week, another episode. Let's get straight into it. So man,
How you been, bro?
not so bad, not so bad. How are you?
I'm chill. How's your week?
Week was fine, man. Nothing too out of the ordinary. I've gotten into cooking. So yeah, I've done. I've made a load of nice foods now. So I think I've for my own personal opinion, I've perfected steaks and shit, like a couple of curries, and I'm working on this week a beef rundown from it's from like Indonesia, but I got a Malaysian recipe from Trez's mom and a couple of videos online, and I fucking dude, it is delicious. It's so good. I have a slow cooker, so like slow cook it overnight, 12 hours, beef, and then fucking let that shit stew, and then he's got to reduce it in the morning because it's like a really dry curry. It's not like I don't know if you've ever had like that in Kenya, but like.
It's like watery, moisture.
It's watery when you're slow cooking it, but the next morning, or when you
like renders
cooking,
down or something.
You render it down, and it's moist. It's not like it drips or anything like that.
Yeah.
It's just like coconut and milk and all the spices just bind to the beef. I must bring you some. It's really fucking good. It's really spicy though. It really blows the fucking guts off me.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
I'd say slow cooking is really good for like extracting all the nutrients from the food.
Yeah, just like marinating all the flavors together. I don't know. I'm not really. I just follow the recipes, man. I know you're big into the pressure cooker.
Yeah, I love pressure cooker.
I know you can use the pressure cooker in a similar way of the slow cooking, but I don't know if you lose anything by doing the pressure cooker other than it's quicker.
Yeah, it's just with pressure. It's probably you can slow cook in a pressure cooker. I guess it will just not pressure.
That's what I have a pressure cooker, but I've never used the pressure.
I think
on it.
I think mine you can pressure cook it. I mean you can slow cook in it. It just won't. You just have to turn the valve to venting.
I actually have a slow cook setting on mine. Is there no slow cook setting on
yeah, there is. But then if I turn the valve, it'll whatever steam, because cooking will produce steam. It won't lock the valve and thus create pressure, and then you can slow cook. But I love pressure cooking my food.
I've seen your was it your Instagram or your TikTok or something when you like
yeah.
I don't know if you can show that. We should get that.
We'll put it up on the screen there. Yeah, but I think it's great. It's good. I do my own chicken broths.
Okay.
So I get like a bunch of chicken drumsticks from Tesco, parboil them.
Cheap as fuck, right?
Yeah, it's like $2.70 something for a
like
kilo. Don't ever change that, Tesco, please. Because it used to be cheaper, I think it was like $2.29. People in Ireland do not like drumsticks.
Yeah.
People in Ireland do not like chicken thighs. They don't like chicken wings. They just like chicken breasts.
Well, I like chicken wings, but we won't cook them at home. We'll get chicken wings in a restaurant or something like that.
Yeah. And they'd be damn expensive. You can get the fucking kilo of them in Tesco for. Not that. I'm not being a cheapo, but then just. You can.
Dude, Trell tells you like the breast in Malaysia is like one of the cheapest parts of the chicken.
The breast.
Because over there, everyone wants. The thighs. They want.
Yeah, here it's much more succulent.
Nobody wants that over here.
Yeah, so I get like 2 kilos of chicken drumsticks. Throw them in the pressure cooker, right? Oh wait, sorry. Parboil them so I can pull off the skin. I don't like the skin.
Why don't you just cut it off before you?
It's so hard to pull off, man. When it comes to the ankles.
You can't just slice it off, or?
No. When it comes off, it's way too messy, man. When it comes to the ankles, it's too hard. No, I've done this, and this is the shortcut to it. Put them onto a big pot.
Boiling pot of water.
Slightly, don't boil them to when the meat's falling off. Boil them lightly to they're slightly brown. The skin will fall off, right? And all the scum will rise to the top.
Okay.
Then rinse that, put them into the pressure cooker. Now they've been cleaned kind of way, and pressure cook them, right? I do it for 30 minutes.
What do you chose? Veg, stock?
No, just stock, tiny bit of water, stock pot, tiny bit of water. If you want to put some like scallions or some shit, go for it. The one thing I've realized is if you pressure cook your meat to make the meat fall off the bone with vegetables, the vegetables lose all their flavor in the pressure cooker.
But it's on the water.
It's on the water, exactly.
So you can probably get rid of the veg.
But you want to eat the veg though. It actually tastes like paper.
Okay. Well, I've done the same thing, but not pressure cooking. Again, I slow cook the chicken overnight.
Yeah.
For like 8 hours, and the veg's lovely.
Yeah.
It's really tasty. I might actually make one this week. I haven't made it in a month or so. And it's really nice. But it looks rotten when you put it in the fridge. It's all this like gelatin and shit.
That's what I live for, man.
Yeah, but when you heat it up, when you get past that point, it's really tasty.
But that I use that now. So when I pressure cook my drumsticks, they fall off the bone. I take the meat off the bone and I put it into a separate like container.
Yeah.
That's so good for like wraps and stuff.
Yeah.
And that soup at the bottom, I pour that into a container, put that into the fridge, and the fat will separate from the collagen.
Uh-huh.
Scrape that off, and you have your own chicken bouillons. Like you can slice that and put that into a chicken soup, and then take the shredded chicken, put it into that, and then you can add your vegetables to that.
Delicious. Yeah.
Men are getting better at cooking, man.
I'm hungry. Man, everyone's getting better at cooking.
Men's getting better at cooking, man.
Yeah, I really love the beef one though. But one things I cook the least. Have I actually ever? Apart from like sausages and like the Irish fry, I like never cook pork. I don't know why. Like I eat pork in like a restaurant or something like that, and it's fucking lovely. But never try to cook it like.
I don't have pork. I got these white and black pudding from Dublin Meat Co.
Oh yeah, I was looking at their stuff.
Yeah, and it says on the website turkey. Yeah, so I was like, hey man,
turkey pudding.
Finally try turkey pudding, right? And I'll give it to you if you want it.
I have a one this week actually. No,
take it from me. They're really good, man. Sponsor us.
I had some of the chicken goujons the other day.
Yeah.
But they were like covered in oats or something like that instead of batter. And I was a bit like meh. So I cooked them. Had them in the freezer all week. Cooked them yesterday. They were really good.
Yeah.
And they seem like slices of chicken.
Yeah.
Like, they're not like ground up McDonald's shit. Like it was really nice.
It wasn't that puree that they form into some sort of.
It was really nice.
But
the pudding's good.
I don't eat pudding because I don't eat pork.
Oh yeah.
So on the website it says low fat turkey pudding. I was like, man, pudding, black and white pudding. I'm buying it. Yeah. So I was like, first time I could try pudding because I don't eat pork.
Yeah.
And I got it, and I looked at the back, like it's low fat. It's high in protein and everything. And then I turned the back, it says bacon. And I was like, not gonna eat that.
Really?
So it's made of like has chicken. It has like peas, chickpeas in there or something like that.
Okay.
But I think they got it wrong. They kind of said turkey, but it says chicken on the back. But it has bacon in it, so it has pork. So I have it in the fridge there. I put it on the group chat. I was like, does anybody want some white and black pudding?
Yeah, I'll take it home. I'll eat it today.
Yeah, I'll give it to you, man.
Yeah, the whole pork thing you're missing. You're missing out, man. Pork can be so delicious.
Everyone says that to me, like, hey man, you want pork chops? Or they just look at me like I'm some sort of like mysterious weirdo.
Well, no. Well, like, most of the Indians, right, they don't eat beef, right? So that's the other huge thing. You're not gonna eat, at least you can eat steak.
Yeah.
If I had to pick, don't eat beef or don't eat pork, I'm taking the pork. I want my steak. But
yeah.
Interesting. I was reading a lot about it at one point. Like they try to tie it back to like historical senses in terms of like if the book, like say any holy book or whatever, is a good way to live your life. Like maybe they threw in pork because back in the day, like if you're eating pork brains and shit like this, that shit can kill you. You're very similar to humans apparently. If you're a cannibal, you eat human brains, you go nuts. Like you get
you reckon
prawns or something like that.
Yeah.
So one of the theories is not confirmed. It's only a theory. That's like maybe that's why. Yeah, that was put in the Quran. It's like to just protect people. Like this is a good way to live your life. Like, but
yeah,
in the disguise of God or whatever like this.
Yeah. Well, I come from a Muslim family, right? Yeah. And it's seen as a dirty animal because they eat their own shit. They roll in crap. And also, if you think about it, back in those times, I'd say hygiene was not a priority. So the way meat was handled, the way so if you, let's say an animal ate whatever and probably had worms in its belly or whatever, and some sort of worms that would go into its skin or whatnot, if you chop that or whatever into a butcher's and then sell it to people, probably have flies in it. They probably have some insects or some worms, some eggs, whatever. So I'd say it was seen as an unclean animal, but mostly probably because of like the way it would eat its own shit and stuff like that, and eat anything. I'd say back in those days, they'd throw anything to the pig.
But I haven't looked it up, but I'm pretty sure it's a misconception about pigs. I think they're actually meant to be pretty
clean.
Yeah, but I know that they look there, they roll around and stuff in muck and stuff. But they're safer to eat than chicken. Like you can't eat chicken medium rare. You can eat like a pork pink. I think a little bit. As far as I'm aware.
Well, I
could be wrong on that. We should give.
I've seen like. I won't lie, I know you can eat chicken and all that, but the condition I've seen like these chickens in those big farm sheds,
they're horrible, man.
And there's like literally when people walk in, they say the amount of ammonia in the air because the chickens are just shitting. There's like that much space between chickens.
That's why I don't really give two shits about organic food, but like if you're like free range eggs and like free range chickens, I would tend to go for those.
Yeah. Are they really free range?
Well, you guys, you know, I watched a really good video online about this girl. She worked for marketing. She was one of the lead marketers in some food corporation for pigs and chickens, and they was talking about like all the things you'd use to try and confuse the customer, like farm fresh. What the fuck does farm fresh mean? It means absolutely, like, it means nothing. Like, it's just a nice go happy feel term. But like free range, like, you know, there has to be like space in between them. And I heard the organic thing is not as regulated or loose. The rules aren't as good. But I did try to go for the
like those eggs there that I get, right?
The egg free range.
No. And it's a class A egg. And when I looked at the little slide on the back, right, it's like, what's a class A range, whatever egg, and it said made in Ireland or produced in Ireland.
That's it.
But that does not specify free range or anything. So you kind of like, that's such a vague class. Okay, it's from Ireland, but what other categories?
I don't care where it's from, man. I don't like. Once I'd sooner like to know the animals treated humanely. You know, you see all those horrible videos online with like all the animals, not just chickens, like, but there's cows and.
The one thing I will say about any meat here in Ireland, beef is fantastic.
Yeah, even the cheap stuff you get in Tesco or like, you know, the.
But it's all Irish. Like, have you seen the cows here? They have fields and fields. I know there's sometimes that they feed them with what's that stuff they cut the grass and then they dry it. Is it hay? It comes to hay, or is it silage? Or silage is what they spread.
Oh yes, you're talking about manure and stuff like that. It's shit smell.
No, but they sometimes they gather grass, then they cover it with like this black tarp.
Oh yeah, that's hay.
Yeah, and then they feed them that in.
I don't know they feed cows.
Kind of like in troughs, and they feed them.
That's what I know.
But the field,
I'm
like,
from the country.
Well, my uncle and aunt are in Portlaoise. Uncles and aunts are in Portlaoise, and they have like a field of cows behind them, and they eat lush green grass, man. The steaks here are fantastic, good quality meat.
That's something you don't ever living in Dublin, man. When I was back home, you go to the local butcher who has a local farm, and like you see the animals, and he'll butcher them. Like he'll be like, you know, he might not have any steak there. He'll like come back in an hour.
And
have a steak for it, and it's just, I really like that. I don't. You're also supporting your community, and the animals are treated better. And when I'm living in Dublin, obviously, just go to Tesco, or for steak, I tend to go to FXB. But you know.
Recently with the WMECO, I just get it delivered directly.
Yeah, well, I don't.
But they're probably sourcing it from a butcher as well.
I like the idea of having a butcher in local community. Something I don't like about the city. I get shit from my friends about that. What's it like in Kenya? Is there like supermarkets and stuff that you go to?
But
they don't sell pork ever anywhere.
No, they do. In Kenya, there is, and it's so cool because the Muslims and Christians live right beside each other, like normal.
Which is the.
Depends now. If you go towards like the likes of like the city centre Nairobi, it's much more a Christian base, right? But if you go to like the coast, Mombasa, majority of it is Muslims. Yeah, Muslims. And people run the adhan and everything, like, you know, the call to prayer and everything. It's so normal. Christians walk by. It's such a normal thing.
Yeah.
You know, there's such a harmony between them. But come back to that, the meat. My mom gets her meat in a butcher. Majority of it is in a butcher. You can get your meat in a supermarket, but there's so many people butchering meat, and there's a variety. Like, you'd have goat, chicken, kidney, offal, all that kind of stuff. Because there they eat a whole animal. You get the whole animal here.
That shit just goes to waste over here. I don't know if they. I've never had it. The only time I've ever had anything like that when I was traveling, like, you know, in Asia and stuff. But I wouldn't have it over here.
So you wouldn't.
I'd try it, man. But
I did see lamb liver. Was it lamb liver? In Tesco.
My dad would eat liver.
Lamb liver. It's.
I don't know what fucking
super
eat
strong,
liver anyway. But it's meant to be like the most nutritious part of the animal, like the organs. Like in the wild, like the wolves will eat the.
Yeah, they eat
first.
that. Yeah,
the alpha eats the.
Yeah, but that's like where all the iron, all the nutrients is. The meat has all the protein and all that, but there's a lot of
nutrient dense.
Exactly. The kidneys and all that. People just don't. I think they find it very. Maybe is it from the times, like, let's say back when there was like the plagues and all that, and you didn't have sources of meat or whatever. Would people eat that because that's what was available? You
think? Oh, there definitely. There'd be no waste.
There'd be no waste.
There'd be no waste. I think this is only a recent development.
Because now there's an abundance.
Yeah, I think it's a slow thing. Like, my dad would eat more foods than I would. You know, but my brothers and sisters would eat less than food than I would. There's less variety.
Yeah.
I usually try it once anyway, and if I don't like it or whatever, then I don't like it.
Yeah.
But there's foods that just don't seem appealing to me, like livers and organs, just because I didn't really grow up with it. My dad would have a liver the odd time, and I'm like, that's fucking disgusting, Dad.
Yes, I think.
It's
I grew up eating liver.
Yeah, that's
kidney,
really good.
I've eaten cow stomach, goat stomach, delicious, fried up.
Like, that doesn't sound nice to me at all. If you put it in front of me, I'm sure it would smell lovely, but I'd be all like, oh fuck.
It has a strong smell. You'd have to wash it because of course it's the innards, but I haven't had the intestines, but I've seen it being prepared. Like, because I'll give you an example during Eid.
Yeah. Because
we would go through Ramadan and all that, right? And at Eid they would have a slaughter.
Maybe you want to explain what Eid is, because I don't even figure out what Eid was when I was going to Malaysia for Eid, so I don't know if everyone watching this.
Right, so after Ramadan, you'd fast for the month of Ramadan,
yeah.
right? And the celebration at the end of this is Eid.
Okay.
Right? And it's a celebration basically, the way you'd have your Diwali and your it's like the Christmas for Muslims, except it's not based around Christmas.
Yeah, like Christmas would be the biggest event of the year.
Yeah.
And
Eid would be
Okay.
And there's two Eids. There's an Eid of the main Eid is the Eid of slaughter.
Oh yeah.
Right, that's the one you have.
Slaughter.
Yeah, you would slaughter something, a cow, a camel,
every family
a
would.
goat. Well, depending if you can afford, and that animal you'd slaughter. Like we would have goats and sheep. You'd slaughter them at the house. You'd have someone come over and slaughter them at the house.
Okay.
And then that meat would be distributed to people at the mosque. Your
community.
Yeah, the community.
So
exactly. Yeah, so you'd bring it to the mosque, and a lot of people would cook like a pilau or biryani and bring it to the mosque. People would line up. People who are not wealthy, and they'd come to the mosque
that's nice.
and give. Yeah, it's
that's
to give, nice. And that's what Ramadan is based around. Is your fasting is to bring you close to a more humble, and everybody you'd understand what it feels like not to eat.
Okay.
Not to drink.
Yeah. So
you
don't eat during the daytime.
It humbles. Yeah, you don't drink and you don't eat. Both. Yeah. And you pray your prayers.
That one was crazy for me when I first heard about it. Something not to overshadow your story, but like I'm like, oh, don't eat. It's not too bad. But at least you drink water and stuff like. No.
Can't drink water. It's a total.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah.
That's
compared to the Christian. Is it Lent?
Lent.
You just give up something.
I don't want to eat chocolate for the month. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a piss take. But I'm sure it was more strict back in the day. Like, Joe from the office, international office.
Yeah.
Like, so he's an old generation, right?
Yeah.
He doesn't eat meat on a Friday.
Every Friday.
He'll eat fish.
Yeah.
Right? That hasn't changed. That rule hasn't changed.
Yeah.
But my dad will eat fucking meat and he doesn't give a fuck.
Yeah.
Over generations, so like Lent has become this piss take thing where like, oh, I'll stop drinking or I'll stop. But I'm sure, maybe if you go back far enough, it must have been something.
Yeah, it's kind of watered down now.
It's definitely watered down.
Yeah, no, but
Ramadan isn't, obviously.
No. Muslims are very. If you're a devout Muslim, you follow your religion.
Yeah. And
that's one thing I respect with Muslims is like they don't waver from it. They don't waver from the book. They don't waver. They follow it, and it's like, do you find that Catholicism now has been watered down? People don't go to the
No, they don't go to church. They
church
go once a year.
Sunday and.
I don't know if I agree with you there though. I know a couple of Muslims. Sorry, I'll say Muslims that they're more strict than I would be. Like, so I was brought up Catholic, right, Christian, but I don't follow it. I don't hide it. Like, just not into it. Don't believe in God. But they're still in the area where they're like, they're kind of half in, half out type thing.
Yeah, of course.
Which I don't think when they have kids they'll be like me. I see it getting watered down as well.
Yeah.
But maybe over here, they get a bad name though, man. The poor old, Muslims,
Yeah.
I don't know if the extremists in Muslim is more mainstream than any other form of extremism, because there is in all areas of life.
Yeah.
But like
but it came
decapitating people.
Yeah.
In France?
What
the fuck's that about?
See, I think
decapitating them.
I know, but that you're talking about a small group.
Yeah. Definitely.
And that's a picture that has been painted amongst a whole community that don't believe in that and are against that.
Yeah, you can't do that.
And when you look at also what has happened, like with the 9/11 and all that, it was a time where it shocked people.
Mm-hmm.
It was a shock factor. Like if you open the news now and see there's a bombing in Iraq, you don't even bat an eye. You're just like, grand. It's just a tabloid at the bottom, and you move on.
Yeah,
but back then, when you saw the bombings and everything, you were personally offended. You were shocked. You were scared. You were like, what the fuck is happening? Right? Yeah. And that, with the publicity it got, with the news it got, and then you have the likes of people saying women are oppressed there by wearing the hijab. You know, it's all been a pot that's been stirred and boiling, and then it's just everybody, you know, and people who are very naive and ignorant, and thus they've cast it. And I think now we're coming into a time where the younger generation who are using social media are coming out and saying that's not what it's like. And then because there's such an amalgamation of people, like, you're my friend, I can tell you this point of view. And then you see me, Jordan, how I am in my daily life, and we're friends. You're like, Jordan's not like that. And then you see people who are joining other communities in other places in Ireland, and they're Muslims, and then the wife may wear hijab, and then her children go to the school, and then those parents get to talk with her, and they're like, she's not like that. So the perception that they're crazy, that was provided in the news, people are getting to be like, well, my friend from down the road, her name, you know, Miriam, she's not like that. She's grand. She has the Bants. She's great. Yeah. Crack, you know? And I think that's what happened was the news
painted everyone the same.
Painted brush. Everyone, and then everybody, you know, were very ignorant and thought, geez, look at all these Muslims, and they're coming into our country, and then with the bombings there, and then I have all these refugees coming in. Yeah. And it's painting an image, and it's like, yeah, they're coming from filth. They're really bad people. So but they're not.
No, I think it's crazy to say like that any insert demographic is bad. Like you can't say that about any.
But there is that perception.
Dude, I've had conversations with people because you know, like my girlfriend's and her family are Muslim, right? But I've had people that you know I'd be friendly with, and they wouldn't. Like, I haven't seen them in years, and they wouldn't know what I've been through for the last while. You know, dating a girl that follows Islam. But it might come up a conversation or a joke, and they'd be like, "Yeah, fucking Muslims." And I'm like, what about them, man? It's like they're fucking bombing everyone. I'm like, no, all of the Muslims are bombing things. Like, come on. It's like, he's like, yeah, whatever. I'm like, oh, hold on, you're serious? You think every Muslim is a terrorist? Is like the sure numbers is like millions of billions, and like it's crazy, man. But like, what is the difference? Because you always hear them, right? Because I know someone tried to dad about this a while ago, and it's obviously they're the extreme people, right? They're taken to the next level, and obviously even the Muslims don't, the non-extreme Muslims don't agree, right? But they're reading from the same book. So why do you think is this being brainwashed? But it's the kids, right? These are college kids that decapitated this one professor. Yeah. So they're obviously young, impressionable. You know, I don't know a lot about that part of it.
I think it's the interpretation of the book. You know. Okay. It's a scene as this is the way I see it is that they take the interpretation from the book that if you do not follow Islam, right, then you should be taken out of here. That this.
Oh really?
Yeah, I think that's where the extremists come from.
The mass bombings come from.
Yeah.
Not so much like the Charlie Hebdo stuff where he drew a photo of Muhammad or whatever.
Yeah, no. Well,
that was different, right?
But that's different, exactly.
I didn't know about that one.
In terms of ISIS, it's that they're fighting the good cause. They see it as they're fighting the good cause.
On behalf of God or whatever.
Yes, like, and thus whatever they do for God is just. You know, and it's not punishable, and it's seen in a religious hero. You know, to them that's their interpretation. But Muslims here in Ireland or wherever that live a normal life are normal civilians don't see it like that. They don't see the fact that you can come over here or anywhere and kill a Christian or kill a Hindu because they don't follow your religion. That is wrong.
It's weird though. Like I just don't understand how people don't. It's like they're blindly following, right? They have see horses in the street and they have the blinders on. Yeah. Right. So I only kill this person because they don't follow whatever religion. But God, you believe God created everything, so God created this person. Yeah. How does that work? Like how does that go? How that doesn't go together. Yeah. God said you should kill these people, right? Because they're not following, but God created them.
Yeah, it's massive brainwashing, man. It is. It doesn't because you see like the perfect example, like people in Europe that just end up speaking with people who are from these groups, and then they leave.
Isn't that mad?
Women Men, they just are convinced. They start like online kind of dating, and then they decide, you know what, I'm gonna cut a flight and go straight to wherever, and they'll fly.
I think it could have been any. It doesn't have to be like the Islamic extremists. It could have been any extremists. I'm sure that they would have went to, right, because they're just impressionable.
Yeah,
it wasn't
impressionable people and they think, wow, you know, and they see the good side while they're still on this end. They're like, oh my God, and they're being told they're being loved, and you're coming to fight a great cause, and come be my wife, or come be a husband, or come be a brother in this fight. And you don't see everything until you get there. Like, I've seen a documentary, the German girl, young girl, flew over there, you know, and she got married, she had children.
By the Middle East, did she? Or
she's from Germany, and she went over to one of those countries. I think it was
where ISIS is prevalent. Is it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I can't remember exactly where she went, but she decided to go there, and she had a family. But then she wanted to come back.
Yeah,
because they were having war, there was bombings and everything.
Yeah, not a great way of life. Like.
And her father really fought hard to try and get her out of there, and they finally brought her back, right?
Okay.
And the chap who was over there was German. He had decided to go there as well.
Oh,
yeah, and
wow.
he had been there, and then so I don't know if it, you know, it's like a chain reaction, but impressionable people, and then when they get there, they realize there's no money. There's, you know,
you're in war. Like it's
war, exactly. There's no food. You don't have the same comforts, and then all of a sudden you realize this is not for me.
Yeah, especially you're surrounded by a bunch of lunatics, right, that are willing to
oppressing you, and
fuck.
I think it's insane, but it also just shows you like the psyche of a person when you actually believe that you are doing something of a higher purpose, and thus whatever is in the after is way better than what is in the current, so you don't care to blow yourself up or to kill other people, or because you find it just. That's another level of devotion.
It's just it's hard to,
it's scary.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to believe, and it's really sad to believe that people would do some of that to each other, but all that stuff is nothing compared to what people used to do to each other in the Middle Ages and stuff, you know, like all those torture devices they had. So people can be fucked up, man. I don't know, but these ones just seem so, I don't know, just the contradiction. Like I was over with Eid, or just the end of Ramadan or whatever in Malaysia, and I was like, so everyone, you know, doesn't eat, drink, whatever, but one of the girls was eating and drinking, and I'm like, is she not Islam, or she's not Muslim, she doesn't follow? It's like, no, she's on her period, so she doesn't have to follow. I'm like, I don't know. It's like, what? It's like, yeah, so when you're in a period, like, the girls are considered dirty or whatever, so they can eat and drink, but they have to make up for the time. I'm like,
after,
so they're considered dirty. It's like, yeah, because you're in a period. I'm like, but didn't God give women the periods?
Yeah.
So how does that? It's just another contradiction that I just find mad, and there's plenty in you know, Christianity, obviously, which I don't follow anymore, but it just seems these common sense things that just don't seem to add up. And I find it, like, if you find any inconsistency, right, so if I believe in something, right, it could be anything, it doesn't have to be like religiously, but like, that's how I think something is true, I'll believe it until someone like, actually that's not true because here's the reason, because you sure that solution is right, because, well, if this particular scenario doesn't make sense, I'm like, oh yeah, maybe this isn't the correct way of doing it, or the correct answer. And it just seems to be a lot of those in insert any religion.
There is, exactly. It doesn't. There's no. I see what you mean. It works in one way, and then here is totally not followed at all. It's kind of like we're gonna bend the rule here to some degree. Yeah, I agree.
And it just, if there's any doubt, how can you be so sure that you're gonna kill yourself, kill people?
Yeah, and I agree. Like what you just said there about the period thing, but this is coming from back in the days, right?
Yeah.
Where I think that the man was the power. So in most religions, in Catholicism, Islam, let's say there's two main ones, Catholicism, Islam. Let's say go there. The back in the times, the man had more majority of the power. It was seen that kind of way.
In both, well, yeah.
And I think still now, even if you look at Islam, a man can marry 4 wives. Provided he can.
I love saying that to Trezor.
Provided he
can. You're the first one.
You know, provided he can can fend for them. And
I think you can marry more. No, it depends.
No,
But
4.
Is there not? There's so many different.
But you can't just be like, I'm gonna marry for 1, 2, 3, 4. No. There's ways to it. But if you are gonna take on another wife, you have to be like, your current wife has to accept it. You have to discuss it.
Yeah.
And
treat them well and all
yeah,
that.
yeah. And it's not like I buy this color chair and you have to get the same color chair. It's not that strict. But there is a certain power I see that the man has in that kind of way, that he can take on multiple wives.
Well, even in the mosque, right? Your place of worship, there's a clear
it's separated.
Separated.
And I saw a photo. Speaking of that, I saw a photo where they showed where the men pray,
Yeah.
right? And it's lavish, beautiful. And then what you see for the women, it's so bland and plain. Now, it doesn't matter where you pray, because a Muslim man can pray on the street if he wanted, if the adhan came on, you know. But it was just funny to see the contrast, that you have so much lavish marble and everything where the men pray and where the women pray. It's just bland and plain. And it was, look, it doesn't really matter in all broad sense, because you're praying to God, and it doesn't matter where you pray. But it just showed like there wasn't really much release, like at the women's chambers area to pray. It's grand.
It makes me sad though.
You know? And this coming from somebody who has been brought up in Islam, you know, I've seen this, so I can say these kind of things, you know.
Well, it's good, because I've had one of the best things I thought about going. I was in Griffith College, and Irish people are not the majority there.
No, they're the minority.
I thought that was great, especially for me, right? I came from the country like no black people, no Asian people, no Spanish.
Is this
people.
from high school?
Yeah, right. Just always in my bubble.
Yeah,
it was brilliant. I couldn't. It was really, really good. So I had a couple of Muslim friends that actually followed it. Like they prayed 5 times a day, and this, that, and that was like, where are you going? He's like, going off prayer. I'm like, okay. So it was good, but oh fuck, man, I don't know where I was going with this. Oh yeah, I do. It's really sad though when you hear like some of the stuff, like the way women are treated. Obviously they're happy, and like, well, I hope if they're happy, they are happy, that there's no issues. But like the hijab, that's not for them, right? That's for men, right? So men are not distracted by their good looks. They have to hide their beauty. Is that the whole idea behind it?
I guess, yeah, to some degree. I mean, how do you say? Let me give you a like
if a woman wanted to walk into a mosque with no hijab, could she do that?
First of all, you wouldn't walk into the mosque. You'd go through the back way where the women pray.
Okay, so that's crazy to start with, though. You know,
because you don't want
you go to the fucking back door.
Because let's be frank, women can be very attractive and can distract you from your prayer.
Whose problem is that, though?
Well, I mean, it's kind of, I know what you're saying. It's kind of like you should be controlling of yourself, but it's human nature, and you don't want to see a woman walk to the mosque or anywhere prayer of worship, and you're coming in there, you've done your ablution, you're ready to pray, and then you see a lady with a very nice body, and you're thinking, wow, that in itself takes you away from prayer.
But women also find men attractive, right? It works both ways.
Yeah.
Why?
But have you seen what men wear when now? Men wear we call it the kanzu, or it's the long robe, the white one.
Okay.
You can't see much of anything. You're kind of washed out in your frame and whatnot. Your face is shown. You have the hat.
Yeah.
But the women wear they cover the hair. They cover the parts where, you know, I believe maybe back in the day, if you saw a bit of ankle, you thought, wow.
Yeah. Cool.
But you're covered your hair, and your whole body is covered, and you go to pray. But you go to the back way, or it depends on the structure of the mosque. I'm not saying that women have to go to the back route to enter the mosque. No, there's a separation. It could be whichever way.
But there's the main entrance for the men.
Yeah, the majority of the mosque is for men. Like, let's say on a Friday, in Islam, men should go to the mosque on a Friday.
Okay.
Should.
As opposed to every other day. This is important.
A woman can pray from home. It's not a must for her to go to the mosque on a Friday. But as a man, Friday prayers, you should. If you can, you should. It's not, and if you can't, it's okay to pray at home. But you must make your prayer regardless. But you should make an effort to go to the mosque if you can on a Friday as a man.
But the woman doesn't have to.
You don't have to, no. And I think that's where you come across those inconsistencies you're talking about. If we are created equally, but we're not created equally, but we have our own strengths.
But I don't.
But from back in those times, as I said to you, the man
But
Was the book written by a man or really by God?
Man. You know, it was definitely written by a man. But did it come from God? You know,
so in that, from those times, like, let's say you created a religion today.
Yeah.
With today's times and today's mentality,
it would
it would be so different.
Yeah.
But with what they had back then, if it was written by a man or came from God, well, let's say, and God is a man,
yeah.
Let's say it would come from the perspective of a man, in which way it would control over not the inferior, but the lower would be the woman.
Yeah. Well, there's obviously right. There's clear. This is probably it shouldn't be controversial, but it is. There's clear differences between men and women, right? Men naturally, on average, are stronger. They're taller. They're faster. Right? There's men tasks that maybe if it wasn't in like a modern society, men would need to do the heavy lifting, right? Just because we're built better for it.
Yeah.
Right. That doesn't apply to religion and church. Like because you're bigger and stronger, you go into the front door, or you don't have to cover yourself. That doesn't tie into it. There's no biological reason. It's like, Jordan, you're going to have to kill that, I don't know, wolf. Why? Well, you're fucking built better for it, man. And you know what I mean. So, but I like to tie back to culture. Like I don't think some people think it should be totally banned, and I don't agree with that at all. I like if a woman wants to wear the hijab, let her fucking wear the hijab. If she doesn't want to wear the hijab, I don't think she should be forced to wear the hijab. That's kind of where I lie on it. That's personal preference, and you do whatever the fuck you want to do, man.
Yeah. And maybe, but maybe
it makes me sad when you hear about stuff like that.
Yeah, I agree with that. But maybe what happens is then, if you are part of a community that was already wearing the hijab, and then you decide I don't want to wear the hijab,
you get bullied or something. Or?
You get not even, but yeah, maybe you get the silent treatment, or maybe everybody's talking about you, and
Definitely.
you know everybody's talking about you.
Definitely.
In their own family homes. You're at dinner and they say, "Oh, that girl, she doesn't wear the hijab. She's so silly," or she's always hanging out with the boys.
Traza was telling me about that when she was in school. Her first 2 years of high school, she wasn't into it. Didn't wear the hijab, and she said she got bullied for it.
Yeah.
She was like one of 2 people or 3 in the entire school that wouldn't wear it.
Yeah, and I tell you something.
That's really sad.
I've noticed. I had friends that amongst everybody, like in school, they would not wear the hijab, or they prefer not to wear the hijab.
Okay.
You know, because it was the opposite. Majority of the females in the school did not wear the hijab, so they felt out of place.
Yeah.
Uncomfortable. You know, because everyone was flaunting their hair. They'd come with their hair done up,
got picked on,
and then you could not that they wouldn't get picked on, but they couldn't flaunt what their beauty was. They felt like that.
Is that their own choices, or is that their dad's choice?
Well, it's their family choice. They came home with the hijab, but if you'd see them on a night out, they'd like take the hijab off because they wanted to look pretty. They wanted to show what their hair was like, because every other girl was every day they had their nice hair out. They had their hair plaited, so you could have your hair plaited, but you'd wear the hijab and you couldn't see it.
Yeah.
Now, however, on the flip end of that, whenever they went to their own countries, their own homes, let's say they went to Lebanon or to
to be head to toe or something like that.
They'd love to wear a country that had a lot. They fit back in. Everybody, your cousins, your friends, everyone's wearing the hijab. Everyone, it's normal, and you wear the hijab with such pride. And thus, they would do like in Rome. They would wear the hijab, and they'd be happy to wear the hijab because they didn't feel out of place. I currently have noticed that. So when they'd come to school, and they would go on a night out, they'd be like, they'd be itching to take it off. They want to show what they look like on the night out. And then when they go home, they put the hijab on. But I think that's wrong, because it's not that they were bullied. They were never bullied in my school.
Yeah.
Everyone, because we had such a vast amount of cultures, so everybody was representing their own country, and it was great.
That's great.
But they personally wanted, I'd say they wanted to be like, I want to also wear my hair out. Because everyone's talking to her,
And they wouldn't do it, you think, because...
Well, they would. They take the hijab. No, in the school they would. They'd have the hijab.
Yeah, but
because then you'd have their own friends or people from their own community. But if they went on a night out, they'd like to take the hijab off. And vice versa, people who were Muslim and decided not to wear hijab, they were kind of like looked at like from the community, the Islamic community. They would be looked at as, she doesn't wear the hijab. What's wrong with her?
Yeah.
You know. But when they went back to their own countries, they felt. At one, they felt
but do you
a
think
community,
if
you know?
Their own countries, there was, it was 50-50, which way, maybe some days they were...
But if you look at the likes of Lebanon, they're very some people have hijab, people don't.
Wasn't there was an interesting case about like
very modern
some of like the governments when they had to go to Islamic countries, like, and if the governors or presidents or whatever, the politicians that are heading over these countries have communications with women. Sometimes the women had to wear hijabs like that. They aren't Islamic. I think it was some German politician, if I'm not mistaken, maybe a French one, and they had to go to one of the Islamic countries, and they were like, you have to wear a hijab when you come over here.
Yeah.
You know, what I think about that, like forcing, because that seems more of a cultural thing. But it's like, as a woman, imagine like, you know, you said, Jordan, you know, as a black man, if you come to my house, you have to do something else. Imagine if I said you have to wear, I don't know, these particular shoes. Right, they're related to you, right? Because shoes, as a woman, she goes to this country, she has to wear hijab, even though she doesn't follow it, but she's treated differently. That's
like I'm giving you a very out of place example. Like when you watch these movies and then like these people are saved by like these tribal communities and they're sitting down, right, and then the tribal community they offer them something and it looks like a bowl of weird soup, right? I know they feel like their lives are in danger, right? And they feel like they have to have the soup to be accepted,
respect or whatever.
And not to tie that's probably because their lives are in danger, but to show respect to the community, the tribal community.
Okay, so I see where you're going.
You see where I'm going with this? Yeah. Do you feel that kind of way that you're going to somebody else's house and somebody else's place that maybe now people tie this back to the women, but let's take man and woman out of this. Mm-hmm. You're going into another country where they follow a certain rule and regulation, and to make things smoother, do you just do as is just to make it easier? And vice versa, they would do the same to you on their way coming in. You see what I'm coming? If you take away man and woman out of this, then
there is no restrictions for men. Is the only thing. It's like everyone else is cool, but you people.
Yeah. See,
which I think you should tell them. Like.
So what do you think? Do you think if she was going there,
the German lady, as a sign of respect, it would be great if you could do this.
Yes.
But you don't have to.
But you know what I mean? To tie, they're probably trying to make a deal of some sort.
Probably.
And thus she did. It would smoothen the deal.
I don't even know if she did that. I have no idea.
But whatever she did, or whatever she had to do, whatever, that smoothened the deal. It's business at the end of the day, some sort of way.
Yeah, no, it is.
But I understand what you mean. Like, she shouldn't have been forced or thought that she had to in order to make this happen to wear the hijab.
You have to change yourself. Yeah. I just don't want the idea of anyone. I don't care what people do, man. Like, honestly, like, as long as you're not hurting anybody else, do whatever the fuck you want to do. Right? It's just. Yeah, when you're forcing people and like talking about, you know, your girls in school and stuff that wear the hijab, I see like yesterday I was looking at it, there was this dad and he was walking around a couple of kids and they couldn't have been more than 10, man, and they're all wearing the full hijab, you know, the one where you like the proper one, and I'm like, she's like 9, like who's looking at her as like an attractive young woman? Why does she have to wear? It's just, and obviously in Ireland growing up with her friends, you want them to mingle with different parts of the community. She's going to feel different, man.
I agree. Really I agree. She will feel different, and but that's where you. The more this is amalgamated into the community, the more you will have people understanding. Like as I said to you at the beginning of this, in Uganda, in Kenya, you have the adhan played when they call to prayer, and Christians wouldn't bat an eye. They'd just be like, it's such a normal thing.
I wouldn't either. Yeah.
And if you had that happen here, it would be uproar. People would be like, "Oh, you're trying to get my sleep."
Yeah, there was a huge thing not so long ago. There was a prayer in Crow Park, and some people were freaking out about it.
Yeah.
Who the fuck cares?
They just but what I'm trying. That's where I'm tying back into.
Exactly.
Like,
there was a
the more people see it, the more your children's children will become used to it. It'll be normal. Now I know you're coming from a point of view where it's like, does that little girl really need to wear the full niqab?
Yeah.
You know, does she need to wear the full? You know, and as she given consent?
Does she want?
You know, and
which ties back to the whole
now I agree
circumcision thing as well. That's these forced things upon people.
Yeah, I think it
fucks with your head. It's up how you grew up and how you view yourself.
Maybe it's true. Like I understand, like when you see like people now on TikToks, whatever, and they're proud to wear the hijab.
That's fine.
No problem. You've made that decision, and we're happy. And I would love for a world where people could be like, if you want to do that, you rock that.
Do whatever you want.
Do your thing.
Yeah.
And I'm never ever gonna judge you for what you decide to do.
Yeah.
I believe in that. But I know where you're coming from, where it's like this little young girl, you know, every other young girl she's playing with has their ponytails out with the little pink ribbons or whatever, and maybe she'll feel out of place.
Yeah, you know.
But however, if that little girl was in a country where it's predominantly Muslims, she wouldn't. She'd feel part of everybody.
Because all the little kids are forced to do
well, all the little kids have it.
You don't question it.
You don't question it because it's the norm.
Yeah, which is also kind of, I don't know. Eventually, surely they all have to be like, well, why does, you know, my friend who's a boy not have to do this? That question has to come up. It's like that's because the way it is. Like, it's just this impression. Oh, he doesn't have to wear it because he's a man. Are men better than me, in some regard? You know, like it's. I don't.
I know where that ties into, like, why don't the, well.
Which I don't agree with the whole conversation. And the other end of the spectrum, where there's no difference between men and women. We are the same. We're not the fucking same, right?
Yeah.
There's clear differences.
But maybe there's a touch of a masculine dominance in religion, where it's my wife, my property, and I don't want her to be showing off her hair and her body. However, then you can see the other spectrum where a woman says, this is part of my deen, this is part of my religion, right? Deen is like,
yeah, okay.
Where I have made that decision. But does it stem from was the book written by a man in which he says, if I have my 4 wives, I don't want these other chaps here seeing that she has a nice ass, that she has nice breasts, that she has lovely hair, you know, and to keep her from, you know, adultery, right, or somebody else wanting to shag her. Yeah, I want you to wear this and to keep yourself for me only.
Quite possibly.
And now, has it come from, if that's where you're coming from, where it began like that, it wasn't actually written by God or anything, and now it's come to a point where people are convinced people that was ruled by God, that wasn't a rule by man. And then a woman will say, well, yeah, I believe because God wants this to be the way, and I understand where this is coming from. So that's where you're coming from. Is the religion really written by a man? Was it really a rule by God?
Well, I don't know the whole background story with the Quran, but I think it's like the word, the Bible anyway, is the word of God.
It's the word of God.
Heard God, write this shit down. Apparently, that's the way it is.
Yeah, but as I said, Chinese whispers. Yeah, does it change?
Well, how many generations have passed down before it was written?
Rewritten. How many testaments are there?
Oh fuck! There's quite a few, man. And there's quite a drastic change in the Old and New Testament.
Yeah, and the Quran, before the Quran was the Torah, I believe. And before that there was another book. There's several books, and the Quran is said to be the final book. Yeah. But, and I know a lot of people wouldn't like to hear this from me, but like, has anything changed in those wordings? Was it actually written by man? Was it sent by God? Or is religion a hoax? Oh.
Who knows? Who knows? I have friends that aren't religious, but they believe in God and this type of stuff. Which is, there's a lot of problems with religion, and there's, talking about like bombings. There's a lot of what's the word? Impressions that people have once you say a certain word. Like Islam is like, Christians. People talk about the way the church touched all the kids. Like, there's a lot of negative connotations. I have no problem, man. People believing in whatever the fuck they want to believe, as long as they don't hurt other people. And don't force people to do things. It makes me sad when people are forced. But in terms of like you're saying there, as a sign of respect, if you have to wear the hijab going somewhere, like there's a couple of places when I was traveling around Asia, like you can't come to this place because your shorts are too high, or your long sleeve. You have to be more decent. And that was the only thing I ever felt like, you can't come in. Like, that's fair enough. Like, I'll wear some pants, whatever. But the hijab one is interesting because, from my understanding, it's like to hide women's beauty because men can't control themselves. Yeah. And whose fucking problem was that?
Is it? What you just said there was, it wasn't a problem for you to change your shoes and everything. But however, when you see a tabloid where it says this lady from Europe had to change her clothing, it ties into like the feminist. Is because she's a female? Is it oppression to her? That kind of way. But as I said to you, all she has to do, you had to do, is change your garment. and she's changing her
But,
garment. But the tabloid and the.
But that was for men or women. If a woman came in, there was women there that were
Yeah.
in tank tops, and they also had to change.
Yeah.
So I think if anyone had to go to that country or place, and we all had to change our clothes,
Yeah.
I don't think there would ever be an issue about it. To be quite honest with you.
Yeah. No, and I'm not defending anybody in this. I'm kind of trying to see the point of view where, when that label comes out, when that word hijab comes out, it's tied to oppression.
Yeah,
there
it
is that oppression is tied to it.
Mm.
But when you look at it, all that's happening is the garments are changing. That is all.
But it's symbolic, isn't it? Though
it is exactly. That's what I'm saying, and that's why it's tied to oppression. It's tied to putting females down, and that's where we come back to where the book, the rules. Is this a man? Is the religion more a dominant, masculine religion, whereby the woman comes second?
Women can't lead prayer, right?
No, they can't.
So there's.
See what I'm saying?
But there is definitely a dominance in men. I can't think of anything.
You see what I'm saying? Where it's coming from?
For Christianity, man. I don't think there's anything like that.
I'm sure there's plenty.
Women can't be priests. They can't lead the prayer. It's quite similar. They can't do that.
Yeah.
So there you go. So it does. Yeah. It's definitely more apparent in Muslim community, obviously.
And maybe you can be a head nun or something, but
yeah, you can't.
You cannot go as far
priests.
as that.
Yeah, there's no.
Yeah, but there's a hierarchy for priests.
Oh yeah.
To become a pope.
There's no women.
No women.
No women.
So see what I'm saying? Like, and as I said, we're not trying to be on any side of this, but we're trying to go back to the root of it. Is it stemming from a more masculine dominant religion whereby the woman is seen second? Or is this something that is a word from God? So is the book written by man whereby he has put in these little,
Okay. Well, I'll answer that question, right? As a person, right, who doesn't believe in God, but grew up as a Christian, been to Eid. I've done like 1 or 2 days of Ramadan just because I wanted to, not because I believed in it. So like, I'll say just like, and I've been to Eid, the big one that you're talking about, and it was great. All family was over. There was loads of prayers. Food was delicious. But I was in it. I think that it was written by a man, whether it came from some divine inspiration or someone took a lot of drugs and thought they were talking to God or whatever back in the day. But I think religion was written with good intentions and a good way to live your life. To be honest, I think there's a lot of good learnings in it. It seems apparent that it was written by men, and men wanting to control women. I don't know if you've ever been in a situation, you're maybe with a new girl or whatever, she's smoking hot, or getting ready to go out, and maybe she's wearing something, super low cut, super short, you're like, fuck, you feel a bit iffy, like,
I don't think you should come out with me because everyone's gonna be looking.
Yeah.
Is that a man thing?
That's the 100% fucking man thing.
See?
So what do you think? You answer the question.
What you're saying, I love the way you were so brutally honest. Look, I'm not trying to offend anybody because of course I'm coming from a Muslim background. I'm my whole family, but there is questions in the head where you're like. They probably them though, this is my cop out for everything. This is my cop out for everything because I like to smoothen everything out, right? I pray. I don't pray the full 5 prayers. I pray to some. I believe there is a divine power of some degree. Uh-huh. I'd like to think there is a divine power of some degree, right? I do in some sort of way feel like you cannot keep a scripture true to the original. Oh. And I do feel that the way men have been the dominant role from time, that there was definitely masculine inspiration in written text, right? Being very honest, and if you don't think there is, then you are an ignorant person. To not question, and if
just
you
the question, that's it though.
Yeah, you must question everything. You must be having an open mind to everything, otherwise then you are following blindly, and that is not the way
to live your life,
to live anything.
That's where you get all those fucking cult shit, like drinking the Kool-Aid, everyone gonna kill themselves and shit, like you question things.
Exactly, you have to, because the only way to truly find true knowledge and to actually open your mind to new things, and not be so narrow-minded.
Challenging your own ideas.
Yeah, good. You have to step away from everybody from a third point of view and say, do I agree with this? And as you said, there's so many inconsistencies here and there that you cannot say, blindly. I'm ignoring that and I'm following this.
Like I said previously, you know, my first interactions with Muslims were in Griffith, and that's how we had these similar conversations, and that's how they done it. They were like, no, that's just the way it is. Wall blocked off, don't question it. Or you'll have some crazy thing about, well, actually, my interpretation of that is whatever, and like, yeah, you just, you know, you basically just look the other way. It's good though. I'm glad we came to that agreement that you should question things.
You should, and that's coming from somebody who grew up in a Muslim family.
Yeah.
You know, and I agree. Like, I love that it brings everybody into the community. I love that we all go to pray. But at the same time, when you listen and you read and you see what's happening in the world, and women, at the end of the day, you can decide to wear the hijab, and I will respect you.
Yeah.
I will date you. I will love you. I will,
yeah.
You know, I don't. There's no
you
problem with
you
that.
Want, like,
you do what you want.
But if someone was a lot more not extreme,
but
was more disciplined than you,
yeah,
could you see where like no, you kind of have to wear it? Do you reckon that happens, that it exists today?
Yes, I think so, and I think, but if you're going to be marrying somebody from that community, you know, it's given that she is going to follow that. Yeah. It's given that she's coming from a family where it's the norm. It's given that she understands that it is the role. You understand where I'm coming from?
I do. No, that makes a lot of sense.
And as I said, that ties back to where I said, and perfect example where I was in a school with 52 different nationalities, where people who were wearing the niqab, the hijab, and you know, wearing it at school, they really truly, when we went out, you could see they would love to show their hair. They'd like to, you know, people were curious and wanted to see, and they were also wanting to show their beauty, because they felt not alienated in a sense, but
different.
Yeah,
it's different.
But however, when the role changed and they went back home, they wore it with pride, because they were amongst the community of people where it was normalized. It was normal. It was okay. And they flaunted their beauty in that way.
You could twist it though, Jordan. You could be like, yeah, you know, it was normalized. Not the hijab was normalized. That you were forced to wear it. Forcing women to wear it has been normalized, and you feel more comfortable being in.
But that is the way. It has always been the way. So it is not even forcing anymore.
No,
however,
it's not.
And however,
culturally enforced.
And I've seen a lot of women on the likes of like Instagram. Instagram is brilliant. TikTok is brilliant. Where they're coming out and showing this and they're like saying, I want to wear this. I believe in this, and I'm happy that you do. Yeah. But. And I'm not saying you shouldn't if you're, you know, but I'm coming back.
That on the other, there is women that don't want to wear it.
Yeah, and if they don't, they don't. Whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
But as I said, that I'm trying to tie things back to the scripture. Was it a masculine dominant written rule? Because men, as you said, is it the man's problem because he can't keep his dick in his pants? Yeah. He can't stop himself from looking.
And to be honest, I think it's a come back to some men thing, right? I don't think women can relate to it, but you can get cloudy thoughts, man. If you get in that mode where
yes, of course, man.
You can't concentrate properly until you just release, man. Get that release out, and you feel like.
And then you think straight. You're like, what have I done?
I've talked this about Trez like a couple times. Like girls just don't seem to have that. It consumes you.
Yeah, I remember seeing a post, something that saying, a man's sex drive is like being chained to an angry monster.
Yeah.
You just cannot, you know what I mean? And maybe that women and men pray in separate rooms, and that is the exact reason why. Because if you're praying beside a woman and she's bending over you and she's praying down, you're gonna be looking at her ass.
And you can't masturbate though, right? In Islam, is that right? I
don't know. I
know there's so many sub-denominations when you're Muslim, but like one of my friends from college, he was saying he doesn't masturbate. It's against it's not happening. So if you're not fucking busting any nuts, man, and you got the asses in front of you, no wonder you're put in different rooms and
because you're just creating sexual tension, and urges.
You're tough.
Yeah, and does that also tie back to the fact that when people back in the day they'd have children, they'd have 14, 15 kids, but you couldn't have protection.
Yeah.
And every time you want to have sex, you're having kids.
Yeah.
You know that everything the dots do line up. The dots do line up.
Yeah.
However, as I said to everybody, and this is coming from somebody who was Muslim, right? But also of an open mind to understand.
I think there would be a better place if everyone was.
Just understanding of that it's not just religion, there's cultural aspects to it. There is the man and female aspects to it. And I think men and women are equal, however, have different strengths.
Absolutely.
So we should be equal. Men get stronger. We have dominant, more strong body. We have testosterone. That's the reason why we are stronger and more capable of doing certain things. But that doesn't mean
that if women want to work in a building site or whatever, they shouldn't be allowed. Yeah. If they want to do it, let them fucking do it, man.
And women would be more empathetic, and that's for childbearing. Yeah. Because to raise a child, that is how it is. And men are not as good at raising children. In fact, I'd say together, and that's how we are as a species, we both balance out and raise a child or children. So you know what I mean? We should be equal, but we have our different strengths. And once we can understand that, we would have a much better world. You know?
Yeah. That ties into a whole conversation we could have about like same-sex marriage and kids. For different.
But I tell you, this is really good because I think everybody, as you said, should question everything. Yeah. You know, and even if you don't want to understand that questioning, or you don't want to delve too deep into it, at least understand that there is an inconsistency somewhere, and maybe look towards finding the answer for that inconsistency. Yeah. And then you decide yourself if you want to follow, if you want to believe it or not. Yeah. But at least you have made the effort to find out something.
Yeah, totally, man. One of my like you said, you know, you believe in higher power or whatever, and I don't. And one of the videos I always tell my friends about, like, and it comes up in conversation. You know who Gabe Byrne is? You know, you ever heard the guy? He used to do Late Late Toy Show or Late Late Show in Ireland before Tuberty and stuff, and before Pat. It was So he's old. He could be dead now, but he done this show afterwards called The Meaning of Life, right? So you have celebrities come in and they're like, so what do you think about the meaning of life? And they talk about religion, God, or whatever. And it's a 2-minute clip, could be 2.5 minutes, and it's brilliant. Show's ending, right? Ask the same question to everybody. Okay, forget what we just said, right? Let's say whether you believe or you don't believe. It's Stephen Fry on the show. He goes, let's say you die, right? You go to heaven, you open the pearly gates. Turns out God's real. What do you want to say to him? And it was just the best answer, and it really synergized with me. Or like Stephen Fry said to him, was like bone cancer in kids. What's that about? And it's like just this list of things of like you've bugs on the planet that their whole life cycle is just to burrow into the eyes of kids and make them blind. You know, these natural disasters that are out of our control. You make us pray on our knees to you. Like, what sort of king are you? You know, it was just a really good, really quick, succinct, well thought out answer that he's obviously thought about over a number of years. I'll show it to you afterwards. We can link it in the description for anyone that's interested. But it was really good. It was a really interesting one, and I'd have the same questions, dude. I'd almost feel sad if God was real. You know, they have all these weird rules and procedures and
But is it because it's a divine power that we have as plebs we cannot question? I don't know.
And there was a really good one that if I did want to believe in a God, another video I'll link in the description. It's from a YouTube channel, I can't pronounce it, a German one called Kurzentag, but they just animated this a popular I don't know, meaning for God, or it's called The Egg, and I'll show it to you. It's a bit longer. It's like 7-8 minutes long. But basically that we are the gods, but like in baby form, like how every time you die you're reincarnated as somebody. So you were Hitler, you were Gandhi, you were everybody, and you do this over and over and over again until the earth finishes. And after all that, you've learned everything that everything that there is to learn. Then you become this higher power, and it was a really interesting video.
It's cool, man.
It was a
different spin-off.
It was very different. It's something I haven't heard before. But I'll link both of those in the description for anyone that's interested. I'll show them to you because I haven't shown them.
Super, man. That was great.
Yeah, this was a possibly very decisive episode.
See what people say. I think I would like you to comment, you know, and tell us your thoughts.
And perceptions on everything that we've done. I'm sure that, like...
Yeah. And keep it open-minded, guys. Always question.
Always question things. Alright.
Cool, super. Thanks, guys.
Cheers. See you in the next one.
Ciao.